Hey everybody, welcome back to the forge. Today I'm going to be showing you how I will hand forge a Hidden Tang Hunter Knife. So let's get started. Okay, so I had a customer contact me a couple weeks ago, asked me if I could make him a hunter style knife, but something also he could carry every day. And he also asked me if I could use this antler for the handle. So before I start any project, I like to kind of draw out an idea of what we're going to be aiming at here when we're forging. It's always good to have a game plan going into something like this. And then I also drew a little rough sketch of what the finished product should look like. And I got a piece of 5160 steel here that we're going to be using. So I'm going to get the forge fired up and let's start hammering this thing out. So as I mentioned before, I'm using 5160 steel. I really like to use this steel for a couple different reasons. One is it's pretty darn tough. This is what they make leaf springs out of. It's also really forgiving on the heat treat as well. So I like to eliminate any possible failures before they even happen. So that's why I'm going to use 5160. The only thing about 5160 that's kind of negative is it is harder to move under the hammer, but I weigh out the pros and the cons on that. So right now I'm looking at the color of the steel. You don't want to forge when the steel is cold. So better safe than sorry. Let it sit in there for a while. After you do this for a while, you can almost tell the exact temperature by just the color. So we're just going to wait a couple more minutes and we're going to start forging. Okay, on just about any knife, I like to start forging the tip first. So we're just going to start, and I'm kind of lucky because this is actually cut at an angle. So maybe a purist will say I'm cheating, I don't care. I'm going to use that to my advantage. And we'll just start working that tip in. Okay, now the steel's getting cold, so I want to go ahead and put it back in for another heat. Alright, like a big idiot, I forgot to turn on the camera on that last heat. So I'll try not to make that mistake twice. But really all I'm trying to do right now is forge this tip in, and that's about it. I like to keep on flipping over and hammer evenly on both sides when I do this. Also keep in mind that this is a spine right here where this curve is. And this is where the cutting edge of the blade's going to be. And the reason we do that is when we forge in the bevels, which I like to do, I like to forge in the bevels, it'll turn the tip up. So I'll demonstrate it, but I'm just kind of giving you a preview of what we're doing here. Alright, as you can see, I've almost got this tip in. I just want to kind of angle this nose down a little bit more. Again, always paying attention to how hot it is. You can tell by the color. It's already, I'm seeing a mild glow. I think it's time to put it back in for another heat. Alright, now that I've got the tip forged in pretty much where I like it, we'll start moving back to where we're going to forge in the ricasso. Now, I said I wanted about a 5-inch blade. Well, my anvil is 4 inches wide, so that can kind of give me a reference to where I want to start putting this in at. So I'm just going to put a little mark right here, give it another heat. So yeah, it's going to be about 5 inches. Give it another heat, and then we'll start forging those seriously in. Alright, so we're pretty good and hot again. We're good about my 5-inch mark where I marked it. It's hard to see. Put it on the edge of the anvil and imprint that. Solid blows, and you can see now I've got a start to that. So now I'm going to preheat it a little bit and do this side and just start moving my way back. I actually want to give myself a little bit more length on this. So I'm going to go right here and redo that. Back into the forge. Okay, I'm going to start on the other side, get my other side hammered in, or at least a reference point. And these don't have to be super exact, okay? I'm going to be cleaning all that up with a grinder. But a couple minutes on the forge or on the anvil can sometimes mean 10 minutes on the grinder. So I like to get it to a pretty good shape. Alright, now that I got these reference marks in here, I can start moving a little bit faster. I think I'm going to be better off if I flip this around. You may have noticed that I'm using vice grips. I do have some tongs, but to be honest with you, I never have been able to get get used to these. I just like the grip better on these, on vice grips. So that's what I used. And if you're a beginner or just starting out, that's the whole point of things, is finding what works for you. It doesn't matter what somebody else does or whatever. You got to find the best thing that works for you. So keep that in mind. Just keep on going back and forth. Another thing to keep in mind too, when you're doing this, you're not worried about pretty. you're just worried about moving steel at this point in time. I'm not really worried about what's going on in here right now. I'll come back and fix that. All I'm focusing on is the area that I'm forging right now, and that's it. Alright, so off camera, I went ahead and put this thing on a little bit of a diet. I don't need all that steel in my way. I'm going to use the peen of my hammer to kind of draw this out a little bit. You can also do it on the horn. See, we're starting to draw that out, get it skinnier, get some definition there. We're getting there. Some of this you just gotta be patient on. Okay, you're probably looking at this right now and being like, what the heck is he making? Trust me, just do one step first, finish that, and then move on. The next step we're going to be doing is forging in the bevels, and then you're going to really start seeing your knife. But there's no use for me working on this and then trying to clean up this because I'm coming back here anyway. So just focus more on each step as you go, and you'll be fine. So I'm almost got that to where I pretty much want it. Now I can come back and refine a little bit of this. There's no issue with that. But there's no reason to have a finesse hit and then a moving steel hit. So I've almost got this where I want it. A little bit fat here, so we'll okay, I think we're going to try one more heat. Try to thin this out just a little bit more. And then I think we'll be ready to move on to the bevels. Okay, I had to shift the camera around a little bit. I think we're about done with this tang. And I can clean that up on the grinder a little bit. So I'm going to turn this around. And we're going to next start working on the bevels. Again, remember, this is the cutting edge, not this. Because we got a kind of a blade shape right there. And you could stop right there. If you just wanted to grind in your bevels, by all means do it. I just like to forge as much as I can, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So we're going to next forge in the bevels. So I'm going to get this heated up. And keep in mind, one thing is, if you don't know about this craft at all. You see the bladesmith smacking a hammer and everything, and we're not doing that just randomly and just trying to beat the heck out of steel. We're using hammer control. What I mean by that is we're changing how the hammer hits the anvil or the steel, the face, the pressure, the direction, and that changes how the steel reacts. So we want to keep that in mind when we're doing our bevels, because what I want to do is hold my blade at an angle and also hold my hammer at an angle, and so I will get that bevel on both sides. Now I'll flip back and forth some, but I'm getting the same effect from both sides, both the hammer side and the anvil side. Again, so we're not swinging just randomly like a madman. The only time we do that is when we come home early. Other than that, though, this is all controlled to get a certain effect out of the steel. So I think we're almost ready to start. Okay, so I'm going to start at the tip. See how I'm holding the steel at an angle. And you can almost see that I'm holding the hammer at an angle too. And I'm only focusing right now on this edge. Okay? I want to work all the way down the cutting edge, and then I can start working my way up too. But as you can see, just with that initial hit, that blade is starting to turn up. And I'm not moving on until as you see right there, I'm getting the same effect on both sides. So if I want to switch over here, a little bit of an angle. Doesn't have to be exact. We're going to clean all this up before we're done. As you see again, that's curving up. So back into the fire. All right, let's keep on going down the line here. And when we get to the end here, you can put it at an angle so you can also forge in your plunge lines. That's really up to you. I've had a hard time getting them even per se. And I'm going to go back and hit this on I'm going to be with the grinder anyway. So we're getting her. Back in the heat. Well, that's heating up. Well, let's talk about hammer control. One of the advantages I had was I actually I took a blacksmithing class by some Mennonites down in Logan, Ohio. And so I got into that first. And I'm going to tell you that's a really good way to start if you want to get into bladesmithing, because you really learn hammer control by starting with just making scrolls and doing S-hooks and hooks and everything like that, because you just do them over and over again. And that just really, I think, gave me a good head start when it came to forging blades. But But again, you know, the most important thing really is A, are you enjoying yourself, and B, are you making a good product? Other than that, it's really up to you to decide what steps you want to take. So I think we're ready again. Okay, I'm going to start moving up a little bit. I think one more heat, maybe two, and we'll be done with that. You can see the plunge. I think you can probably see that. The plunge line right there is pretty distinct. I want to keep on going up, and I think that'll almost finish it for forging in the bevels. All right, keep on working my way up. All right, I think that'll do for the bevels. I don't know if you can see how well you can see that. But I think all I'm going to do right now is one or two more heats. Try to clean up this tip a little bit. Flatten everything up. Make sure everything's straight. And we got our blade forged. All right. I'm not going to do this too hard, but I want to clean up this spine just a little bit. Again, clean up my tip a little bit. When the customer wants this brute to forge, and I love that finish. I know some people say, well, it's an easy way out, whatever. I don't care. What I like is it gives a rustic look. It's a one-of-a-kind look for that knife. You can't duplicate it. And you can't buy it in stores either. You can't go into a store, a Cabela's or Gander Mountain or whatever, and buy a brute to forge knife. So that's why I enjoy making the brute to forge. So I need to straighten it up a little bit. I'm going to move the camera around because I got this huge vise that my anvil sits on and I use to get an initial straightening out. Makes things easy. We're almost done. All right, so I got this massive anvil. I think this thing weighs about 500 pounds. Makes a good anvil stand, but man, it makes things straightening out these blades pretty easy too. Always check your bevels. All right, I'm gonna put it back in the flames and move the camera back around. Okay. I think the bevels look pretty good. I'm gonna straighten this tang out just a wee little bit. It's okay to tap on this when it's red hot, but you don't want to really smack this steel. You can put some cracks in, hairline cracks, that you won't even see until you're about done with the knife. I think I need to put that bevel just a little bit more over to one side. Let that heat up. It doesn't take very long with these gas forges. I love these things. I've done coal as well. I've built a coal forge. I use it every once in a while, but I just prefer gas. You don't need the kind of ventilation you do. Your heat area is very much bigger compared to like a coal forge. Your focused heats are like this big compared to this big for like a gas forge. They're easier to start up. They're ready to go in a couple minutes. It's I prefer gas. Okay, so let's look down here a little bit. I just think that there's some minor things I can straighten up. Like I said, I'm not hitting hard, just kind of tapping it, trying to refine everything. As you can see too, there's not a lot of hammer marks in this. Just the way I forge, I guess. I don't leave big hammer marks. If the customer wants those, I have to actually intentionally put those in. Check the tang again. I think we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to let that cool off. And once it's cooled off, we'll take a last look at it and we'll conclude this video. Okay, so this knife's been cooling off for a little while, and just wanted to put it in here with comparison to the drawing we made prior. And all in all, it doesn't look too bad. Gonna have to do a little bit of grinding on the profile, but that's not gonna be too bad right there. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. You see we got a pretty decent bevel there. So our next step's going to be, I'm going to do some profiling, clean it all up. As far as the profile goes, I'm going to leave this patina just the way it is. Put the maker's mark stamp in it, and then it's going to be off to heat treating. So we'll get right on that. All right, so that about finishes this video, and we have a Hidden Tang blade. And if you're just starting out, just keep it slow, take your time, you'll eventually get it. And there's also like a fine line between, do I want to keep on hammering this out, trying to get this perfect, when I can go over to a grinder, hit it for a couple seconds. That's really up to you, but sometimes you just need to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
So, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about what we covered in here, or do you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see, leave them in the comments below. You can also find me on swfknives.com. That's my website. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and stay sharp, everybody.